The time by Kyrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The business news headlines is brought to you by CBX Wealth Management, making more possible.
To embrace real-time tools. On the regional front, Cayman Islands' public finances face strain as government seeks a $107 million supplementary budget. And over on the global stage, WTI crude oil climbs above $65 a barrel as Russia tensions squeeze global supply. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right after the break.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMAX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMAX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
I'm trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
I'm also trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
Start a conversation with the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Check jamstockx.com for information and a list of registered stockbrokers. You can also call the Jamaica Stock Exchange at 876-967-3271 for information on how to begin. I am achieving my financial goals.
I'm achieving my financial goals.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with an urgent call to Jamaica's corporate leaders. A global shift in strategy management is making its way to Jamaica, where business leaders are being challenged to adopt real-time digital platforms to sharpen competitiveness. At the Executive Circle Strategy and Execution Conference held at the AC Hotel by Marriott in Kingston on Thursday, Cascade Chief Executive Officer Charlie Newark French argued that running strategy in static PowerPoint slides is inefficient, as they become outdated and inconsistent far too quickly.
Today, strategy leaders and the C-suite runs strategy in slides. They run it in PowerPoint. If you look at every other part of the business, that is no longer true. PowerPoint is probably one of the greatest pieces of software that was ever developed, but at some stage in every single part of the organization, it has become outdated. No CRO is running their sales processes or their sales outcomes in slides anymore. They're running it in a CRM. Maybe they're running it in Salesforce. You can say the same for a CFO with NetSuite. You can say the same with a marketing leader. You can say the same with an engineering leader in Jira.
He says strategy execution, like every other business function, should now be powered by live dashboards, accountability, and transparency.
What I think the future is, which is what we call strategy-led performance, is taking the same maniacal management that every single C-suite leader has for their division and applying that to the long term, applying that to strategy. So making sure we got dashboards to track how we're doing, making sure there's accountability and visibility, and this isn't just a 6-month check-in with slides and hand-waving and excuses and commitments. There is a high degree of transparency and knowledge of what's going on, and ultimately that has to deliver better business performance.
That was CEO of Cascade, Charlie Newark French. The one-day event was staged by Return on Investment Consulting, ROIC Limited, alongside Cascade. ROIC CEO Dwayne Forbes says the collaboration is being reinforced to drive regional expansion and help executives lift profitability while staying ahead of the market.
Currently, we're working to expand in the region, and therefore we're strengthening the collaboration, and as part of strengthening the collaboration, we're working to support more executives in various organizations, to boost performance, to grow profitability, and just to outpace the market using a tool like Cascade Strategy Execution Software.
That was ROIC CEO Dwayne Forbes. A new global survey of more than 450 business leaders is revealing deep frustration in boardrooms over the failure to translate strategy into results. According to Cascade, the world's leading strategy execution platform, nearly 70% of executives admit their organizations fall short when it comes to carrying out strategic plans. Cascade CEO Charlie Newark French notes that while sales, marketing, and operations are tightly measured through dedicated platforms, strategy is too often relegated, leaving companies vulnerable to inconsistency and underperformance.
The history of strategy is really these great ideas that somebody comes up with. Maybe it's a management consultant, maybe it's a C-suite, maybe it's a business school professor. And then if you look at actually what happens with that, we find that like 5–10% of the time those strategies are effectively executed on, and most of the time they're just forgotten about. One stat that I really like of the 450 people that we met with, the 450 business leaders, is that 70% felt that they weren't able to execute on their strategy. If you said that of any other part of the business, if you said that of sales, if you said that of production, if you said that of marketing, that 70% of the time consistently you're not executing, there'd be a problem. People would get fired. And we think a big change is coming in the way strategy is managed, and we think there's going to be a massive impact on business performance as a result.
That was CEO of Cascade, Charlie Newark French. Jamaica's producer prices showed a mixed picture in August. The Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin Producer Price Index released on Thursday revealed that the mining and quarrying industry edged up 0.2%. On the other hand, the manufacturing index slipped 0.1%. The increase in mining and quarrying came from a 0.2% rise in bauxite mining and alumina processing. Statin notes this highlights the continued weight of the sector on overall performance. However, manufacturing told a different story. Prices for refined petroleum products fell 1.4%. That decline was partly offset by a 0.2% gain in food, beverages, and tobacco. Over the past year, mining and quarrying prices dropped 6.6%. The main driver was a 7.5% fall in bauxite mining and alumina processing. Manufacturing prices moved in the opposite direction, rising 1.9%. This came from a 3.1% increase in food, beverages, and tobacco, even as refined petroleum products slid 5.7%. In other news, Jamaica is tightening its grip on the future of tourism with a bold new initiative aimed at ensuring more Jamaicans reap the economic benefits of the sector. At a one-day strategic pre-retreat meeting of the Ministry of Tourism's heads of divisions and public bodies on Thursday, Tourism Minister Bartlett named a high-level local first task force mandated to strengthen linkages, expand financing options, and build local capacity. The move comes as stopover arrivals now nearly equal the size of the country's population, an inflection point Bartlett says demands a shift from dependency to empowerment. The body will be chaired by newly appointed State Minister Tova Hamilton, who also assumes responsibility for the cruise tourism portfolio and legislative review. The task force brings together senior public and private sector leaders, including Professor Lloyd Waller of the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center, Sandals Resorts Chief Experience Jessica Shannon, PwC Southern Caribbean partner Wilfred Bagaloo, Chaka Caribbean Adventures John Biles, and ministry strategist Astley Henry. The task force will focus on creating new frameworks for financing, regulation, and capacity building to strengthen Jamaica's tourism value chain. We go now to updates from the Bank of Jamaica on how the currency markets traded today. In Friday's currency trading session, the US dollar is selling for $161.26, the Canadian for $121.15, the pound for $216.35, while the going rate for the euro is $191.32. We move to the latest updates from the JSE equities markets. In Friday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 115 stocks, of which 62 advanced, 33 declined, and 20 traded firm. Leading the winners are Jamaica Public Service Company 7%, Kingston Properties, Cygnus Real Estate Financial, Jamaican Dollar, and Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances. While leading the losers are Medical Disposables and Supplies, MPC Caribbean Clean Energy, VM Investments, and Main Event Entertainment. The main index advanced by 4,299.36 points, or 1.36%, to close at 320,385.32 points. The junior market index also advanced, but by 50.86 points, or 1.51%, to close at 3,408.76 points.
And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard.
In today's Market Education Feature, we're defining the term loan shark. A loan shark is an individual or organization that lends money at excessively high interest rates, usually far above the legal limit. These lenders often operate outside regulated financial systems and may use threats or intimidation to recover debts. Loan sharks are commonly found in underbanked communities, online platforms, or informal networks. Their funds often come from untraceable sources, and they usually operate through personal businesses or unregistered entities. The high risk and predatory practices involved often trap borrowers in cycles of debt.
The Market Education Feature was brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards.
And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next.
The local news is brought to you by Diamond Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
Okay, I just sent the money. I'll WhatsApp you the tracking number.
Thanks, Daddy. I can't wait to buy that PS5.
Listen to me. Your birthday money is not just for spending. Remember what I told your mom? Remember to open the bank account immediately after collecting the money. Your mom has her ID, TRN, proof of address, proof of income, and your school ID.
I'm not an adult yet, so Mommy will have to open the account with me.
Yes. Anyways, I'm headed back to work, so call me later. I love you guys.
This financial literacy tip is brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, promoting financial inclusion. For more information, visit our BOJ Real Talk playlist on our YouTube channel.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. The Cayman Islands' public finances are under mounting strain, with the new government approving more than $45 million in emergency spending to cover health and welfare bills, even as the country's once robust surplus continues to erode. Speaking during a Finance Committee meeting, Finance Minister Ralston Angling confirmed that the government recorded a deficit in April, nearly double the shortfall from the same month last year.
The decline in the surplus that was reported since the end of the first quarter of 2025 was expected. Historically, government's revenues earned between April and December do not fully cover monthly operating expenditures, resulting in monthly deficits from April to December. However, the accumulated surplus for the period 1 January to 31 March is usually so sufficiently large that it is able to withstand the monthly deficits from April to December.
At the same time, lawmakers were asked to consider a broader $107 million package of supplementary appropriations across 8 sectors. Health will take the lion's share with over $41 million, while almost $20 million is earmarked for infrastructure and over $13 million for tourism.
In health, $41.5 million is being sought to cover shortfalls in indigent, geriatric, chronic care, and uninsured medical services. For infrastructure, $19.7 million is being sought for land purchases for conservation, to progress major road expansion projects, and to advance the submarine cable project through its tender and business planning stages. In tourism, $13.7 million is being sought to support Cayman Airways' cash flow needs and provide operating support to the Cayman Turtle Center.
That was Finance Minister Ralston Angling. Navis is banking on its financial services sector to deliver more revenue without raising taxes, following the passage of a new limited partnerships ordinance legislation. Finance officials told the Navis Island Assembly on Thursday that the measure establishes a comprehensive framework for limited partnerships. Premier Mark Brantley highlighted key features, including stricter naming conventions and other provisions aimed at strengthening the island's financial services regime.
Naming and language requirements. Partnership names must adhere to specific naming conventions and can utilize various alphabets. As we said before, they cannot be identical or confusing. Non-Latin alphabet characters are permitted, but an authenticated translation must be provided, and the registrar must maintain a register of partnerships, including names and registration details.
That was Premier of Navis, Mark Brantley. And the Caribbean is renewing its call for stronger investment in education, with leaders stressing that resilience in the sector requires robust infrastructure, both physical and digital, to withstand future crises. Speaking at a regional education forum on Thursday, Dominica's Education Minister Octavia Alfred emphasized that reliable connectivity Access to technology and inclusive systems are no longer optional, but essential to economic competitiveness.
Resilience in education requires investment in infrastructure, both physical and digital, that ensures continuity of learning in times of crisis. This includes strengthening our digital ecosystem, expanding reliable connectivity, and providing access to technological tools for both learners and educators.
That was Dominica's Education Minister, Octavia Alfred. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 20 securities, of which 8 advanced, 2 declined, and 10 traded firm. Today's winners are A.S. Bryden and Sons Holdings, Guardian Media, Trinidad and Tobago NGL, and Massey Holdings, while leading the losers are Guardian Holdings and Republic Financial Holdings. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All TNT Index advanced by 15.80 points to close at 1,422.87. The Composite Index advanced by 8.54 points to close at 982.32. The Cross-Listed Index advanced by 0.10 points to close at 71.51. The SME Index remained at 100.64. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment is
let's all get fit. This summer set drip. Hip dips and split. Power in the mind, let's get healthy with it. Sometimes the body's so hard, but the body wants it. And then your head is so hard, and it's so like this. So we gotta go 1, 2, 3. One more now. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. One more now. 1, 2, 3. One more now. 1, 2, 3, go.
Back, and thanks for staying with us. In the international news today, WTI crude futures climbed above $65 per barrel on Friday, hovering near a 3-week high and poised for their strongest weekly gain since early June. The rally was driven by escalating supply concerns linked to conflict-related disruptions in Russian oil. U.S. President Donald Trump urged Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to halt oil imports from Russia, aiming to tighten pressure on Moscow amid the ongoing war in Ukraine. Earlier in the week, Ukraine attacks on Russian energy infrastructure led Moscow to restrict fuel exports and consider cutting crude output. In response, Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak announced a partial diesel export ban through the end of the year and an extension of the gasoline export ban, citing reduced refinery capacity and resulting fuel shortages. However, some of the bullish momentum was tempered by the return of Kurdish oil exports and fading expectations for U.S. interest rate cuts, developments that could weigh on future demand by slowing economic growth. Canada's real GDP was essentially flat in August, according to a preliminary estimate. Gains in wholesale and retail trade were offset by declines in mining, quarrying, oil and gas extraction, manufacturing, and transportation and warehousing. In contrast, GDP grew by 0.2% in July, marking the strongest monthly expansion since January and an upward revision from the initial 0.1% estimate. Growth in July was led by extractive industries, with mining and quarrying, excluding energy, and metal ore mining both rising 2.6%. Oil and gas extraction also increased by 0.9%. Other sectors contributed to July's growth included manufacturing 0.7%, transport and warehousing 0.6%, and real estate 0.3%. However, retail trade declined 1% during the month. The U.S. Personal Consumption Expenditures PCE price index rose 0.3% month over month in August, up from 0.2% increase in July and matching the market projections. Goods prices edged 0.1%. Goods prices edged up 0.1%, rebounding from a 0.1% decline, while services costs rose 0.3% for the second straight month. Core PCE, which excludes food and energy, also increased by 0.2%, unchanged from July and in line with market forecasts. Food prices jumped 0.5%, following a 0.1% drop in the previous month, and energy prices rebounded by 0.8% after falling 1.1% in July. On a yearly basis, headline PCE inflation accelerated to 2.7% in August, the highest in 6 months, up from 2.6% in both June and July. Core PCE inflation remained steady at 2.9% year over year. Both annual figures were in line with market projections. Accenture plans to phase out employees who cannot be reskilled in artificial intelligence, CEO Julie Sweet announced during the company's latest earnings call. The move is part of a broader restructuring strategy to align workforce with growing client demand for AI expertise. The professional services firm reported a 7% revenue increase for the quarter, crediting the growth to heightened interest in AI training and adoption. Every CEO, board, and C-suite recognize that advanced AI is critical to the future, Sweet is reported to have said. While Accenture is investing heavily in AI upskilling programs, Sweet made it clear that employees who don't adapt may be let go. The company has committed billions towards expanding its AI capabilities, signaling a continued shift towards automation and tech-driven services. And those were your international business stories. After the break, do rejoin us for your recap.
Me grew up and see my granny and save her money under her mattress.
Exactly. Your grandmother house never burned down?
No, how you reached that, so? That was a one-off thing.
That could have happened to anybody. That's why you must put your money in a financial institution and protect it.
What if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in.
What you mean?
JDIC is a financial safety net which provides coverage for your money in case your financial institution fails.
Explain that to me.
Alright, because of the JDIC deposit insurance scheme, once you put your money into a financial institution like a bank or building society, you can get coverage of up to a maximum of $1.2 million per deposit of your financial institution if it should fail. And for even more information, you can visit their new website at www.jdic.org, and you can follow the social media platforms for the latest information.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
And now to recap our top stories. In the local news, Cascade, Roik push digital shift in strategy execution across Jamaica. Regionally, public finances strain as Cayman weighs $107 million supplementary budget. And internationally, WTI oil tops $65 as Russia tensions tighten global supply. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rochelle Moncrief. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.